Blackhawks get shut out versus Colorado. They fall 1-0 in a game that they didn't play too bad in. Again, Colorado coming in 15-1-5 heading into this game, only one regulation loss. They were coming in on the second night to play the second night of a back-to-back, but the Blackhawks played them well, all things considered. This is the best team in hockey that the Hawks go up against, and they hold them to one goal, and they pushed very well. Scott Wedgwood in net for the Avalanche was unreal. I mean, the Blackhawks getting shut out tonight definitely wasn't an indicator of how many chances they had. They may have outchanced the Avalanche in this game. I don't have the exact statistic pulled up, but they were really good, really generating a lot of chances, especially in the first period. The Blackhawks came out of the gate really hot. Shot attempts were, I think, 22-12 or something along those lines. Blackhawks led in shots on goal 11-2 after the first frame. Avalanche did come back, though, and they controlled the second. I think shots on goal were like 19-1 or something along those lines in the second period, which kind of had the Blackhawks, where the Blackhawks came out hot, but then the Avalanche responded right after, maybe after they found their legs. Still, though, after two, it was only 1-0 Avalanche. Cale Makar's goal off a rebound. It was a nice play from Makar. That was the only goal in this whole game, and it was the only goal, obviously, after two periods. Blackhawks came out in the third, played a better frame, but and did push a bit at the end, especially with the net empty, but ultimately were not able to get one on the board, and they do fall 1-0. Just to clarify my statistics, after the first period, shot attempts were 22-11 in the Blackhawks' favor, shots on goal 11-2, and scoring chances 12-4, all in favor of the Blackhawks. So they came out really strong. They pushed again at the end of the third. Couldn't quite play a full 60, but again, this is the best team in the NHL that they were going up against, so it's not a surprise that the Avalanche ended up pushing. I think my initial takeaway from this game is that it's nice to see them bounce back after, obviously, a disastrous game Friday night in Buffalo. They bounced back with a real good effort versus a very good hockey team. It's nice that they're not rolling over. It is their third straight loss, but still, they're not rolling over. This was a game that was similar to the ones we've seen throughout the whole season, not one that we saw Friday night in Buffalo. So they did respond. They did get back to their brand of hockey. They added Jason Dickinson back to the lineup, which was obviously a huge benefit. He's back feeling healthy, which is obviously key for the Blackhawks. Andre Burakovsky still out, so they were missing a key player in the forward group. Burakovsky, I think he's been skating, so hopefully he's nearing in on a return. So at some point later this week, towards the end of this week, hopefully we see him back in action. I do want to shout out Oliver Moore. I thought he was moving pretty well tonight. I saw him and noticed him a few times, specifically on the forecheck. He's looked like a real good player in that category. It's something the Blackhawks will definitely take. Good forechecker. He created a few chances. Ryan Green had a ton of chances, especially in the first period. I think he was credited with 4 official scoring chances in that first frame. I remember at least 3 grade A chances he just could not bury, but it's a positive sign for him getting those chances, getting the position to make those chances. I really like the experience he's getting up on the top line with Connor Bedard and Tyler Bertuzzi. He's been playing real good two-way hockey, and I'm sure soon enough we'll see him capitalize on some of these chances. Wedgwood was unreal tonight. I remember back, I think maybe early April last year, the last time the Blackhawks played the Avalanche in the regular season, Wedgwood was also in net. This was a game in Colorado, and he was also really, really good. Again, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I remember some specific highlight reel saves from Scott Wedgwood last year. So obviously he likes playing the Blackhawks. He had himself another career night tonight, earning the shutout, and he's had just a ton of really good stops. I think the Blackhawks did enough to earn a few goals. Wedgwood was officially credited with 2 goals saved above expected. So obviously in a 1-0 game, that's a pretty big flip on the goaltending. And so big game for Wedgwood for the Avalanche. Blackhawks just could not bury on their chances, but still a big positive sign, just the fact that they are getting these chances, and they did play pretty well, all things considered, versus obviously the top team in the league. Do want to get into some of your takeaways over on Twitter at Blackhawks Focus. Let's see what we got after tonight's game. First one says, fine with it, played well, second period stunk, but overall pretty darn good against the best team in hockey. Yeah, I'd agree with that takeaway. Second period continues to be a bit of an issue for the Blackhawks. I think part of it in this one was just the Avalanche finding their game, maybe finding their legs Like I said earlier in the video, coming in to play the second night of a back-to-back third legs, may have not been there to start, so that may have played a part in the second period being in Colorado's favor. However, the second period continues to give the Blackhawks troubles. The only thing I could really think of that is consistently different in the second period as opposed to the first and third period is the long change. So maybe it's something like that. I know I've been at Blackhawks practices over the past few weeks, and that's something I have noticed. I think a week or so ago, the last time the Blackhawks practiced over at Fifth Third Arena, they were running a drill that emphasized good changes and that long change situation, and kind of playing a 5-on-5 type drill where they did have to change and do these long changes. So it seems like it's something they're working on. It's really the only thing though that I could think of for that could be a reason why the Blackhawks are struggling in the second period, because nothing else is really different. So it's been a little bit weird and unfortunately a consistent trend. Next one though says Colorado is a wagon and the Hawks competed with them tightly most of the night. I'd agree. I think this was overall a positive night for the Blackhawks, even though they couldn't get 2 points. Obviously, I think everyone at least has some playoff hopes, right? So you want to get these points. These are important points, but at least they're back on track after a really rough game last week. Absolutely huge to see this coming off that game in Buffalo and the loss to Seattle. Still a loss, but awesome for the team to prove they can stay 99% even with the top team in the league. Agree with that one. Had more fun watching this game than I did watching the last 4 periods they played. Not mad about it. Avs only have 1 regulation loss for a reason. I'll tell you what, I got to give credit to the Avalanche because the Avs did such a good job controlling this game defensively, playing tight defense, especially on Connor Bedard. Bedard could not get loose for his normal chances. The Avalanche did a really good job of collapsing on him, sending extra pressure towards him, and he couldn't get his typical shots off, couldn't get space for his to create his normal set of chances that we see in pretty much every night. So the Avalanche definitely game plan to shut down Bedard. Obviously, you kind of want to have some other guys that are moving, and we didn't necessarily have anyone that was facilitating their own offense tonight, so it makes it a little bit easier on Colorado to focus in on one guy. I'm sure Burakovsky not being in the game hurt that, or was part of the reason for that. Frank Nazar hasn't quite been himself over the last 2 weeks or so, but the Avalanche did just play really good defense in this game. This team is still missing 1 to 2 finishers. Yeah, like I said, Burakovsky being out is definitely hurting. He's been the first line guy throughout pretty much all of this season. So for him to be out, that's obviously playing an impact. But yeah, and like I said, as we get more of our top-end prospects like Anton Frendel and those guys, Nick Lardis, even if you're talking about a finisher specifically, as those guys come up, we'll get more and more of those guys. But just for the team we have right now, Burakovsky being out definitely did play some sort of an impact, hurt the Blackhawks a little bit. We proved that we can play pretty good against the best team in the league. I'd agree with that. The lack of toughness is starting to show. Hawks are getting pushed around a lot. Makes sense, but need more grit to truly get to another level. Yeah, hopefully have a few guys in the system that can provide that. AJ Spellacy immediately comes to mind as someone that can provide that grit and toughness. But I thought there was at least a little bit of compete. Josh Manson I don't think it was Josh Manson, but Josh Manson was involved in some physicality throughout this game. The Blackhawks responded and were physical on him pretty good. I noticed Colton Dock especially. He's been the consistent physical presence for this Blackhawks team. Sam Lafferty, Connor Murphy, a few other guys, even Oliver Moore, I think were all laying hits on Manson throughout the game. That was something I picked up on. But yeah, you have a few physical guys in there, but I guess you could look for more. Wedgwood stole that one. Hawks were good in first and third. Hawks missed Berkey. Yeah, pretty much my thoughts exactly from that one. At least they looked good and kept the game close against the best team in the league. A bright contrast to the last 2 games. Definitely, really last 4 periods been a big contrast to that. Otherwise, the Blackhawks have been playing pretty consistently good hockey. Hawks are competitive this year and are fun to watch. Matched Colorado's speed tonight, step for step. Yeah, that was one thing. The Avalanche can play pretty fast. They have a lot of fast guys, and the Blackhawks are also a fast team, and they kept up with that pretty nicely. Refs making these games unwatchable. Refs favored Avs. Those are the last 2 takeaways as of right now on that post. And yeah, the refs continue to unfortunately be at least a small part of the storyline. I really don't like to focus on it that much. I don't want to come off as someone that's complaining or all the time or something like that. But the refs, the last few games, there have been like 2 or 3 kind of semi-obvious, I would say, at least for me watching at home. Obviously, it's different in real time, but still kind of like obvious calls that have either gone against the Hawks or not been called if they were going to put the Blackhawks on the power play. It's been unfortunately a little bit of a storyline. Wasn't too bad tonight though. They almost botched it there at the end with that potential Bertuzzi trip. If you watched the game, you definitely saw that one. But luckily, they got that situation sorted out. But overall, I don't think that played too much of an impact on this game. Sure, they may have missed 1 or 2 calls, but it is what it is. Hockey happens fast at real time. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Blackhawks are back in action, I believe Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday versus the Wild as they continue the homestand. So that's going to be the next takeaways video. We'll see if I get any updates from practice before then. Hopefully we get Burkowski back soon. All these updates, if I have any, will be over on Twitter at Blackhawks Focus. So make sure to check that out. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video.